The Prison BA Journal is a publication of the Department of Communication Studies, which provides incarcerated Cal State LA students with the opportunity to publish their academic work and a chance for their research and writing to be seen by others in our field of study.
As graduate students in the Communication Studies Department at Cal State Los Angeles, we are overjoyed and humbled to present a thematic collection of writings from the Fall 2019 Communication Studies Prison BA Journal that center around the concept of home.
We selected home as the theme for this performance for two reasons. One, because we found that home was a common theme among the individual experiences and stories in this journal. Stories of losing home, missing home, broken homes, but also stories of redefining home and rediscovering home.
Second, because the universality of the concept of home could serve as an emotional touchstone between us, the performers, and the authors of the stories contained in the journal. Home is more than a concept or a place. It's a feeling. It's a shared experience that we could explore through the voices of these authors, illuminating their stories and integrating our own.
So, without further ado, we present
Home.
A rite of passage.
A rite of passage process consists of 6 specific stages that represent interdependent phenomenological occurrences. The stages are temporal and are as follows.
Stage 1. The initiate must leave home.
We stood barefoot, naked, shivering and silently pretending to be calm and collected, precluded by the threat of physical harm from picking up the roll of clothes that sat on the floor directly in front of me. I listened. Don't talk back to me or any of my officers. Don't none of you motherfuckers talk while I'm talking. When you're given an order, you better follow it. Excuse me, sir, interrupted one of the naked prisoners. He never got to finish his statement. A big group of corn-fed sheriffs slammed him on the floor, pummeled him, twisted his limbs, and ordered him to refrain from crying out in pain as his naked body lay smashed on the dirty, cold floor under the weight of like 8 cops. His lip burst when his face was maliciously smashed against the floor. I took it all in. As I did so, I remember thinking, I'm on my own.
Stage 2. A ceremonial or symbolic death must take place.
July 11th, 2009. My brother. His hair is so long now. Longer than mine. He seems a lot better than before, though. His complexion is clearer. His voice is serene and calm, and he holds the composure of a grown man. But he looks so much like my father now, it scares me. It's still Justin, I remind myself, but when he smiles, the bulk of his cheeks sculpt up and round up exactly the way that Dad's did. I burst into tears the moment that I saw him, and I forgot to breathe for what seemed like an eternity.
a brother is an identity that a male inherits as his parents bring another child into the world. These siblings, sometimes sharing toys, clothes, and childhood experiences, also share a bond of blood that binds them for life. However, this powerful tie of DNA does not necessarily define closeness, and while this identity may imply certain social roles, it's not a true reflection of the brother's character of self. One could be a good brother, or one could be a deadbeat brother. He's a brother nonetheless. Unfortunately, throughout this writer's life and 12 years of incarceration, he's been more times than not the latter. In 2018, my sister Elaine sent me several of her personal writings that documented specific memories and my specific role, or lack thereof, at different times of her life. Her words, sometimes filled with anger, pain, and love, were undeniably raw, riveting, and revealed many painful realities about our relationship.
August 11th, 2009. Sometimes I think about how unfair life is. And sometimes I wish I could just quit, okay? You were never there for me. You were never there for me when I needed you the most. Those preteen years were horrible. I was picked on for the homemade clothes. I was chubby. I was full-faced and too awkward to fit in. You weren't there to scare off the boys. The ones that courted me or the ones that bullied me. You missed all my swim matches and band performances, and you never picked me up at school like all of my other friends' brothers did. And I've missed you. It seems like we haven't had a real relationship since that terrible day that you were forced out of the house, and it's already been 7 years. I'm applying to college. I'm no longer that kid that you worshipped and that worshipped your every move, and look, what happened to you is horrible, okay? What happened to me was horrible, but what if things had happened differently? You might still be out there dealing drugs, making bad decisions, and forgetting about your life back in La Palma.
When I was kicked out of my dad's house, I was 14 years old. Sister was 10. When I left to Los Angeles, I felt liberated. Free from my father's anger, abuse, drinking, and rules. I left and I never looked back. Not even to see that I was leaving my sister behind.
Stage 3. The initiate must learn the ways of their culture and community.
According to the textbook, family is defined as a network of people who create a sense of home, share a collective identity, experience a common history, and envision a similar future. This was the case for me, my mother, and my grandmother. My father didn't play much of a role in my life after my parents divorced, and my stepfather was as absent as my biological father was, so I grew up without much in the way of a male role model. I thought this was strange, being raised by my mother and my grandmother without a father figure in the picture, at least until I started school. It was then that I learned my circumstances were by no means unique, that other kids also lacked one parent and had either grandparents or other family members fill in the missing role. Some of them even had 2 moms or 2 dads. I didn't learn the implications of what that meant until I entered junior high. Growing up without much in the way of contact or even interest from my siblings meant I formed my own familial bonds with close friends. Forming familial bonds with those who aren't related to us is known as fictive or voluntary kin. I dislike this term because, to me, it denigrates the relationship we have with our chosen family members. We can choose our friends. We can't choose our relatives. But we can sure as hell choose who our family is. Why should that be limited to just people we're related to? Who's to say friends can't and don't forge bonds just as strong as those that connect people bound by blood? Because at the end of the day, isn't that what family's all about? Having that connection? I think it is.
Stage 4. The initiate must be compelled to look within self to overcome the challenge.
I did not lift a finger to help that guy as the officers mauled him, and neither did anyone else. We were all concerned with furthering our own processes. That feeling of being on my own emanated from deep within a place of uncertainty, a feeling I had felt many times throughout my life and would feel many, many times over as I continued to sojourn through the belly of the Levithian that is known as the prison industrial complex. Once I began to analyze my narrative and compiled research on the topic, I realized that my loneliness was merely an inherent trait of the initiation process.
December 24th, 2009. Justin had called again. I don't even know what to say to him anymore. It seems like all that we do is fight, or it's just him rambling on, lecturing me. I know that Justin doesn't hate me, and that he just wants to protect me from the world, but he speaks to me so harshly and hurts. And I wish he wouldn't do that. And he told me that if I go to New York, don't bother coming back. He doesn't even want me to go to NYU. And he wants me to fail, and I know he doesn't mean it. I know he loves me. I know that he's projecting a hurtful reaction, but That's just what Dad would have done. I know they have good intentions. They all do, right? Everybody seems to have good intentions. Everybody thinks they're good, but deep inside, people can be so fucked up and they don't even know how to express love.
What is wrong with me? My intentions were good, right? I mean, at least I think they were. My sister told me that she wanted to go to New York University. I didn't understand why she wanted to move so far. I rationalized it to myself by saying that she could easily go to UCLA or USC and spend less money. The truth was that I was scared. My sister was leaving, and the whispers of uncertainty mocked, what if she forgets about you the way that you forgot about her? Moving to New York couldn't have been an easy decision for my sister. Starting over, moving to a place where you're the stranger in every room. That fear, that uncertainty. She must have felt so alone. And knowing that I was incarcerated, she must have felt that she was leaving me in some way. And I can't only imagine the amount of added pressure and guilt that I must have put on her. When everyone else in her life questioned her decision, she came to me with the hopes of support and an ally. And then without fail, I failed her again. What is wrong with me?
Stage 5. There must be a ceremonial or symbolic rebirth.
So I believe my self-esteem is, for all purposes, average, but healthy. It took me the majority of my life to arrive at that point. I was bullied in school from the age of 6 up until I dropped out of high school at the age of 17. Being the unwilling recipient of so much unwanted negative attention made me believe there really was something wrong with me, because why would they beat me up and call me names if there wasn't? Ironically, it would be a prison environment where my self-esteem would finally start to heal and approach something resembling normalcy. Ironic because in the violent atmosphere of prison, for the first time in my life, nobody wanted to pick on me. Without the constant abuse, I was able to shed much of my negative beliefs about myself and grow into a person with, if not high self-esteem, then at least a person with healthy self-esteem. While it may fluctuate depending on the circumstances, I'd rather have my self-esteem be healthy rather than fixed and poor as it was for the first part of my life.
Stage 6. The initiate must return to their home.
I left home when I was arrested and shipped to prison. The trial and sentencing phase of the criminal justice proceedings represented a symbolic death. Once I was sentenced to life in prison, I was presumed dead on the streets. My family mourned me. Throughout the years, I learned a great deal about myself. In prison, I've been faced with innumerable challenges that only I could overcome by reassessing my thoughts and subsequently changing my behavior. In my personal journey of renegotiating my identity and changing my perceptions and behaviors, I've consciously navigated the tempestuous waters of resocialization, resulting in a spiritual, mental, emotional, and social rebirth. It is represented by each time I complete a positive program, graduate with a degree, or respond to someone calling me by my real name and not my old street moniker. I am fighting to physically go home as this autoethnography is being written. Most prisoners do parole at some point. Not everyone is sentenced to life in prison.
It's hard for me to read all of my sister's personal writings. Each time I read them, my eyes sting and my heart feels like it's gonna explode. It's probably why I've only read them a handful of times, but I do force myself to read them every so often. As painful as these letters and memories are, it has helped me to mend many wounds inflicted by my past, and it's finally given me the opportunity for healing and forgiveness. And while my sister and I have led very separate lives, it was through the intersection of various communication methods, such as phone calls, prison visits, and letters, that has merged us back together. The following is the rest of my sister's letter that beautifully sums up our relationship.
Maybe life isn't all that unfair. I mean, after all, I still have you. And you still have me. I love you, brother. And I hope that somewhere, sometime in life, we will be reunited. Until then, all my love. Elaine.
Till then, sis. Till then. I love you.
To me, home is other people. It's other people who make me feel safe, secure, and that I belong. Much of my life experience has caused me to lose trust in other people, but after slowly unlearning all the things that I thought was home, other people have helped to remind me who I was before all my mistakes, and that is home.
To me, home is good food and a lively conversation. Growing up, my household was heavily influenced by my Italian heritage, and we constantly had people in and out of the house sharing stories while gathered around in the kitchen.
To me, home is family. As someone who experienced a lot of home insecurity for a long time, I think I finally realized that home is not tied to a place or things. Home is people. Home is being in the arms of someone that you love and feeling warm and safe, like you're right where you're supposed to be.
To me, home is remembrance. Home is the night my friends and I spend together talking about life in Star Wars, which is often the same thing. Home is the memories I have of those most special to me.
This performance has taught me that personal narratives matter, and while we're all so diverse, we've also shared some similar experiences. At the end of the day, I'm sure that we can all agree that no matter what happens in life, there's no place like home.
This performance has taught me that home can be found anywhere. And I know it may sound cliche, but home isn't necessarily a place. Rather, it's a feeling. Well, this feeling can coincide with a specific location or with a specific person or group of people. Ultimately, home is a feeling of belonging.
This performance taught me the importance of home, how much home and the desire to feel at home drives all of us, and how the shared experience of that can bring anybody together.
This performance has taught me that emotion is not a social construct. It's a building block used to form the strongest relationships, no matter how simple they may be.
I can't afford to let you see me here. My biggest one is my only fear. Not disguising with different faces, but it always ends up all. Play with the knobs